Good afternoon and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. Joining your host Greg Tompsett, along with my partner in crime in person, Aaron Quinn. What's going on?
We're not over the internet anymore. It's weird. It's kind of nice. I like it. We're gonna sleep in the same roof, under the same roof tonight. Yeah. That'll be enjoyable for me. And we're in beautiful Rochester. What a beautiful day in Rochester today.
Nice. We're here at a lovely Airbnb near St. John Fisher campus. The entire crew was out there for training camp today, and it was awesome. And before we dive in and give you our thoughts today is the launch of our new Cover One Pass, our premium membership. Make sure you're checking it out. It's in the show description. We got new writers on staff, all kinds of new stuff. We have an awesome premium content-only video with explanations of film breakdown techniques, salary cap 101, all kinds of great stuff. Make sure you check it out. It really means a lot to us. That is the best way to come and support us and help us bring more of the content that you guys enjoy. Check it out. It's at cover1.net. It's in the show description here, but help us out. Give it a click. Give it a look. We appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a really fun time working on this since the off-season really got kicked into gear. We've always had a premium membership here, and it's always been a really nice community that we've built. But I think this is going to be our premium membership sort of on steroids. So we're really excited to roll this out. You've seen, if you're a fan of Cover One and been following us for a while here, you've seen us building this team. And in the background, we've been just getting ready to roll out this content for you. So make sure follow the Cover One social media handles. Everything's posted there. You can find it all. It'll be, like Greg said, it'll be in the show description as well. And if you have ever looked for a way to support what it is that we're doing, that's the way to do it. And you can get something in return for doing it. So we're really excited.
Nice t-shirts, decals.
Yeah, not this one, but you'll get a Cover One Insider shirt and a decal and be part of this community and enjoy it. The Slack channel is fantastic. We've got some people that came out last night that have been members of the Slack channel for a long time. We've got some people here today that even started working with us just by being members of the Slack channel. So it's definitely a community that we've come to love and embrace, and hopefully that continues to grow.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So check it out. It would mean a lot to us. But on to the news of the day. We were at training camp. We got rained on a little bit. We got the sun a little bit. We got experienced all of the seasons all at once. We'll start with I know Sean McDermott in his presser this morning gave the news about Roger Saffold getting in a car accident and having a rib injury. We saw him. He was moving around on the sideline. He was there, smiling, seemed to be in good spirits. Yeah. But we don't know the severity. So with that, we had the combination of that and Spencer Brown still kind of easing his way back in. They did have him in uniform. He had a helmet. But he was
doing some things off
to the side. They had him in a little bit of the team drills, but when he was in the team drills, he was with the second team. So the starting offensive line was Deion Dawkins at left tackle. Yeah. Then,
Cody Ford.
They had Cody Ford in for Saffold at left guard, then Mitch Morse, then Ryan Bates, and then we had David Quessenberry in at right tackle. So it was interesting to see. I know we're happier about the depth, but that's not the line that we want to see out there gelling already.
Yeah, no, I don't know on the Quessenberry versus Brown stuff, where that's going to shake out. I do think that it leans probably more towards them working him back in slowly, right?
I think so.
One thing I think we have to talk about is, while training camp's here and that's one step closer to football season being a real thing, we're still real early in this process. Like, we have a whole summer, and while it feels like it's going to go by quick here for fans, there is a lot of competition to be shaken out here throughout the time here at St. John Fisher, as well as when they get back to One Bills Drive for the remainder of the summer. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they shake out. What I would say is, don't read too much into whatever you're hearing today, even for the rest of this week. After we get past this first week of training camp, if Quessenberry was still being the starting tackle, or even when we get here over to the starting wide receivers, if that group is still shaking out a week into training camp, then I think that you can lean into and saying, okay, now that's a thing. I think this first day, some of the sample size stuff, we don't know what is going on behind the scenes with how they're rolling guys out, what their decision to, hey, we're going to give this guy those reps to start camp.
Yeah, it's hard to be able to know exactly what's caution, what's testing things out, what's checking things in different directions. So I think part of it is a challenge. They're also doing some, that it's wanting to get guys reps in certain areas. But I still think there's some takeaways for where it is. So being able to check out how they were doing things, we'll get to it some in the wide receiver area, but you at least see what their first options were. I don't think it's nothing that Cody Ford and Quessenberry were the first guys in there, but I do think that it's just the precaution of getting to that point, getting it ready. So it's interesting to see. Obviously, we want to see, Saffold and Bates at guard. We want to see Brown getting in there, getting the reps with Bates next to him at on the right side.
But we got a long time to get there.
Yeah,
right.
Plenty of time.
And for those mentioning here on YouTube, we're live on YouTube, and we do see some people saying that the sound might not be what you're used to on the show. We're in a dining room, and it might be the echoiness of the dining room. It's not totally filled out, so we apologize for that, but we won't be on long today anyway and getting some things in. So make sure we appreciate everybody that's watching live, and sorry that the audio is not up to par for you.
We'll do our best.
That's right.
So the next one, off to the side, we saw Trey White doing some work, really encouraging. Was doing full sets, was working, seemed to be very comfortably. So obviously all we hear is he's on pace, he's on schedule. We don't really know what that schedule is.
Where the schedule is,
He seems to be going the right direction. And then there was a tweet from Ian Rappaport that obviously I'm not sure who we heard it from, but that he would not confirming he was going to start on the physically unable to perform list, the PUP list. We knew that was how he was going to start camp, but made a comment that they do feel very good about his progress and his pace. So again,
they alluded to a schedule that who knows if internally their schedule was missing 4 weeks of the season, or if their schedule was opening week, right? And that could be a big difference for the Bills. And so I think they're not going to tell us what that schedule is, and they're going to continue to say he's on schedule and rehabilitating. The only thing we can do is keep an eye on him, the beat guys keeping an eye on him here this time of year, and seeing what it looked like to us was nothing on the leg, right?
Correct. No brace. He was running without a brace today.
Yeah, running around. And we did see him this summer at the Micah Hyde softball game. Not that that's anything, but I think if there was concern from the training staff, they wouldn't let him go do something like that team related. So I think that they feel confident where he is at, and that is all the things that they're saying. But in terms of when we're going to see Trey, I think that's going to be an unknown that lingers throughout the summer. And I think Sean McDermott kind of wants it that way. I don't think he wants to tell anyone when exactly Trey's going to be back.
I agree. I think that's exactly what he's looking for. And with Trey, they're out there, and we saw guys covering the receivers that were out there. It was kind of interesting. The same way that we said it's not everything, but we took note of it with the first team offense. Isaiah McKenzie got virtually every snap at the slot receiver. They ran a lot of their normal 3 receiver, 1 tight end, 11 personnel snaps.
Right.
Every single one of them, Isaiah McKenzie was the starting slot receiver.
Yeah, I mean, if this holds true, again, like I said, probably can't make a whole lot out of the day one, right? We'll go tomorrow, and it'll probably be similar style of reps tomorrow. But if this continues to hold true here over the next week, I'm happy to take my L on McKenzie if he's going to be the productive person in this offense that the Bills believe that he can. And if Bills Mafia is right on this, I'm happy to take that L. I do believe this is a total assumption, not based on anything. I think it's more Sean McDermott values guys that have been in the building, putting in the work, doing all the right things within the building. And I think if it comes down to, say, guys are tied and there's going to be a real competition for this job, that at the beginning of it, they're going to lean with the guys that have been in the building, that have gone to battle for them, and maybe even just having the more access to the playbook, more access to Josh, more comfort there. And so Isaiah McKenzie would have a leg up if all things were even, and it's in about experience within the Buffalo Bills roster, that he would have a leg up on it. And so that's one thing I'm going to watch is a week from today, is Isaiah McKenzie still getting the bulk of those starting reps? Because honestly, I get why people like McKenzie, and I'm not a hater, really not. But to me, it just made sense that with that Crowder signing, that he would just plop in as that starting slot receiver. So I was taken back a little bit about that. But I'm excited to see how that shakes out, because maybe it's more of a competition than we thought a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. Crowder played a lot more outside boundary receiver than what I was expecting. He was the primary number 2 behind Davis and Diggs on the outside. We saw Khalil Shakir also played a fair amount of outside boundary receiver. Both of them got some reps in the slot, but they were rotated and moving. They were the second team receivers. That was them and Stevenson with the 3 that were in the next round. Jake Kumaro kind of rotating in some here and there. So it was interesting to see. We saw Shakir make a couple really impressive catches. Good, isolation with his body. He was able to control his body really well, and adjust to some poorly thrown balls from Case Keenum on a couple, and some decent coverage from a couple different areas. But I thought he looked good today, and Crowder moved well. But who got the reps was interesting.
Yeah, no, it really was. I did like what we saw out of Shakir, and Pro-Ant was sitting right next to us and brought up a great point. Some of these drills too, it's hard to take a lot away from some of these drills as fans, and I know we see really fancy catches and stuff like that in one-on-ones, but it's good when you can see a guy making adjustments, right? Like the ball's not perfect, he's making an adjustment, because most of the time that's going to be a throw in the NFL where coverage is so tight and you got to get low to the ground or something like that. So to see him be able to come out day one and show off those hands, which we knew were good. is really a great thing to see. And then, the rotation of the receivers is definitely probably the news of the day, I would think, in terms of what we saw on the field was McKenzie starting in that slot to continue. If that continues, I think that'll be the big story right now on the offensive side.
Our man Eric with an awesome generous donation. We got to see him last night at the Uncle Jumbo's.
I think he's coming out
the meetup last night. Might even get to see him again today. So really appreciate you, man. It means a lot.
Totally.
And it was interesting to see it. I think otherwise the defense actually probably was the story for most of the drills. They looked great in the red zone. We saw for anybody who didn't see the highlight, Tim Settle picked off a Case Keenum pass and returned it for a pick six.
Right.
The defense was having fun with it. I'm pretty sure somebody would have actually chased him down if it was real reps, but he had a good time with it and ran it back 100 yards.
I don't know that he wanted to run the full amount, and then everybody started cheering and clapping and made him run it.
I think Dodson was kind of like coaxing him into it. Damar Hamlin ended up taking
I think he wanted to stop at the 50. I think he was good.
But also we saw a couple, Terrell Bernard actually broke on a ball for Dawson Knox that would have been a touchdown, and he broke on it and knocked it down. So, obviously you can't take much away here. They're not even wearing pads. This is not.
And if we're going to do the good with the bad, Kyrie got smoked. Stephon Diggs on a slam around in the red zone too. So
went to reach out and jam him and just caught air.
So that is, again, we're really early in this process. A lot of that stuff's going to shake out at camp. People are going to make mistakes and things like that. So, again, you can't take too much away from it, but good to see that everybody out there and sort of see where they were going to be in place, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think on that side, more you're dealing with, I think we're assuming Trey's going to be maybe that first month. So outside of that, we don't have too many injuries on the defensive side of the ball. So I think that you can take quite a bit out of who was out there with that starting unit, as that's probably going to be shake out as your starters for the defense.
The next couple takeaways were on the special teams side of it. We saw a pretty consistent rotation at punt return. So McKenzie was back there, Shakir was back, Marcus Stevenson was back there, Tavon Austin was back there. All four of them were rotating. One catch, moved to the back of the line. One catch, moved to the back of the line. Everyone caught all the balls. They weren't really doing real return. They were doing kind of a 4 or 5 step thing. Like you got the ball and did the first explosion, and would try to make some quick move, and it was just tag. And once the gunner touched you, they stopped, and they weren't even going far beyond that. So there wasn't much to take away other than, hey, I guess it's good that everybody caught all the balls. No one muffed it.
Yeah, we didn't see anything hit the ground, anything crazy. Even some when they're doing the punts, it's all different styles of punts, right? So some did hit the ground. But there was no terrible decision. I can't believe that guy let it hit the ground in that situation. So we didn't see anything of that from a turn standpoint. What I'm looking forward to shake out of that, and we talked about it a little bit in the bleachers. I talked about with Nate on WGR this weekend. Is I feel like the best case scenario for that is for Shakir to win that job this summer. To me, that would make the most sense on how everybody's viewing the offense. Right? If Isaiah McKenzie really is the starting slot and he's going to be that, we've seen Sean McDermott doesn't want to have that guy also be your return guy. So if Shakir can be a guy that's going to be limited in his role as an actual receiver this year, that we could get him as a returner, I think you wouldn't have to keep a Tavon Austin, or maybe you can put Stevenson on the practice squad again for another year. You don't have to rush that position. You get a guy. So that's what I'm hoping for to shake out. But right now it looks pretty wide open.
A couple of folks in the chat talking about Von Miller and the contract and things. I got to tell you, and you said Anthony Prohaska, who was sitting with us there in Pro-Am on Twitter, that you guys know from Disguised Coverage. It is crazy to watch Von Miller. It's not padded. They're not the way that he's able to explode off the line at the angles that he goes. It just looks different than anyone we've seen on this roster. He is just a different human. The way that he's able to move, the way that he's able to bend, the way that he's able to explode. It is crazy to see, and it's still surreal that he's on this roster. It's just crazy. So I think fans are going to get excited when you get to see him in real life, but it's fun to see him already.
Absolutely. He probably got the second biggest round of applause upon entrance to the day, and then Isaiah McKenzie was fourth biggest. I think he had the fourth biggest, but honestly, it is surreal. And when Vaughn came out and I heard the applause, where we were sitting, you sort of heard the applause before you saw who was coming out. I was like, dang, who's coming out? And then it was Von Miller, and I was like, every single time I see a Von Miller poster or something, I'm like, oh, that's right, the Bills got Von Miller. And it really hit home today for me to see him there. To be at the field and see him as part of the Buffalo Bills, I think it finally set in for me.
Yeah, and the final piece on special teams, today was the best I've ever seen Matt Hawk punt ever. It was unbelievable. He had awesome hang time, perfect placement. He had a 70-yard bomb at one point. It was by far the best we'd ever seen. And Matt Araiza was the inconsistent rookie, like he was. He also uncorked a couple monsters and actually started out pretty rough. He ended practice really well. I think he had like 4 straight that were 75-plus yards at one point. And then even in the kind of coffin corner drill, he ended on his last couple were really nice. So he came along as practice went. There was one point where Matt Hawk was blowing him away and just looked way better. And then it ended a little more even-handed. But Matt Hawk looked fantastic kicking the ball today. So I thought you had some really good comments about what the worst-case scenario is of creating that pressure with him doing well.
Yeah, no, I think this is a perfect scenario for Sean McDermott. He talks all the time about competition in every position and what competition does for guys. I think in this scenario where you drafted a punter, I think it's more likely than not, by a lot, that he's going to win this job. We've talked a lot about how I don't believe this is a real competition, even though they're talking about it like a competition. Although today, when I showed up and saw Matt Hawk kicking like that, I said, well, like maybe there might actually be a competition. It might be forced by him coming out and proving that he has something to do. But I think the best case scenario was that they kept Hawk not only to train and trying to get the place kicking and the holding for place kicking down, but also into push. So when those days of inconsistencies or whatever it is, you have a guy that's breathing down your neck, whether or not it's a legitimate competition or not, it feels that way. So for every time you have an inconsistent kick and this other guy's right there having a really nice day next to you, that is going to apply some pressure, and they're going to be able to see how Araiza performs under pressure just within camp battle itself. And so I'm excited that they have somebody, and I'm excited that Hawk is living up to this competition, because a lot of guys, kicking is a mental game, and a lot of guys would see that guy get drafted and be like, man, my job here is kind of a wash. But the thing about Punter in a Punter battle is he's really trying out for all 32 teams. Even though he's in Buffalo Bills camp, right, they're going to keep an eye on him. And so good for him. I think that he's put on a nice display today. And if there is a real competition, I don't know that I walked away from today, even with the big kicks by Araiza, I don't know that I walked out of today thinking, like, if there was a real competition, that he's got that locked. Like, Hawk outperformed him overall today.
100%. I am a huge, Matt Araiza fan. I've been over the moon about them drafting him.
Right.
I still say I don't see any reasonable chance that Matt Araiza is not the punter for this year. I don't think it's actually a competition. Matt Hawk was better today. Matt Hawk was the better punter today, and it wasn't terribly close. And now that's one day, and it's one thing. I think all your takeaways are exactly right. That I like it that it's creating pressure on Matt Araiza to perform. I like it that it's simulating that that urgency that you can't really fake, that's going to be real during the season when the lights are bright and the crowd is cheering. I like it that it's creating pressure for Araiza. Now that's good practice. Ultimately, unless it just continues like this every single day.
Again, we have a long time to go, right?
I don't think it's actually going to matter, and it's just, hey, good for Matt Hawk that he's getting himself some good reps and for his next contract or his next team. But I have to acknowledge that I guess it's possible that it just does continue like this every day, and Araiza's inconsistent and a rookie, and they're not ready for it. So I don't think that's the case. I don't think there's any real possibility that he's not the guy. But today, Matt Hawk was the better punter.
He was. And I think the thing that bothered me maybe the most about the setup of special teams practice today was we saw them rotating in the punts, but then whenever there was a field goal attempt in that type of special teams work, we saw Matt Hawk holding. And we never got to see, at least that I saw it in the times sometimes I was scrolling Twitter because it was a little inconsistent out there. And so I might have missed a few plays, but I don't remember seeing anyone but Matt Hawk holding for kicks. And then I mentioned it to you after practice. After practice, some guys kind of stay and get a little work in, whether they're running sprints or doing some stuff out on the field. And since we didn't see him hold, and we know that that's the one issue of this job for Araiza, that we didn't see him out there working on some. I would have loved to just seen him do it while I'm here. Maybe we'll get it tomorrow. Maybe that rotation that they were talking about at OTAs, they were saying they were rotating every other one when the media wasn't available. Maybe it's a every other day of rotation here at camp. So hopefully I do get to see that tomorrow, because that's the big talking point with this player. We know that he's got the leg. I saw Greg put out the video of that 81-yard Calvary almost hurt by car in the process. And we know that. That's what I knew we were going to see, right? I want to see the things that we didn't know we were going to see, and I didn't get that today. So I felt a little empty and hope that we get that filled tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to wait. If we don't see it tomorrow, I'm going to be a little, I don't know if it's concerned or
I'll be annoyed.
Even annoyed.
I'll be annoyed.
That's the word, is that, hey,
I don't want to see it.
he needs the reps to get this right. Like, what are we doing? Like, even if he has to struggle through something, like, you need to push through that to find out. So, let's see it tomorrow.
Yeah, and if it is the true competition they're saying that it is, and Brandon Beane talked about how important holding is last season and that's why they continue to ride with Hawk. Then we need to see it from the guy that's supposed to win this job.
Yeah, a couple quick things here in the chat before we wrap up. I think Ron was asking about Christian Benford. I won't lie, I did not notice that he existed today.
But that's going to happen in training camp days. Like there's only so many of these reps that they're doing where it's a full team thing, and it's a pretty quick day of work. Not a lot of balls get thrown in certain guys' ways if it's a DB. So I didn't see anything from him that stood out.
Yeah, but it's hard. They're not doing that kind of thing. Like I said the one play Terrell Bernard stood out. We recognized the Tim Settle one. There was a couple of you saw Stephon Diggs roast Kyrie Elam, but he's a rookie. This is to be expected for the guy one of the best route runners in the NFL. So other than that, they weren't really set up for much to go on.
Some interesting use of the running backs.
James Cook was a question that came up. So I thought Cook looked explosive coming out of the backfield and looked fluid catching the ball and definitely.
And some of that red zone work, they had him come out of the backfield and get into the slot. So some of the stuff that, I was sitting next to Eric at one point kind of saying like, man, it doesn't really play to the strengths of Devin Singletary, some of the stuff that they were doing running backs. And I think we all like Singletary enough, but maybe that role for Cook is something that they're going to work in early and often.
Yeah, I think so as well. Question here on the tight end position. O.J. Howard is a physical specimen. Guy. Like, we kept joking. I was like, he looks like he was put together in a lab.
Right.
Like, he looks like the Madden creative player. Mm-hmm. When a guy goes in and you just, like, make him, like, big and chiseled, but tall and long arms. And, like, he just looks like he was designed in a lab. And Dawson Knox is a big guy. O.J. Howard is just a freak. Like, he just looks super athletic and everything. So, we'll see how that translates in real football. And when they get out
we
there,
didn't see a lot out there today.
They weren't doing a ton. Dawson Knox was the receiver on the really good Terrell Bernard red zone breakup.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Knox had a couple drops.
Yeah. Knox had two drops.
But whatever, again, this time of year. Quentin Morris had a couple nice grabs. Actually, on some of the stuff. So
I noticed him more than Jalen Weidemeyer, to be honest.
Today,
even Tommy Sweeney.
Today, for sure, I think he flashed a little bit more. But again, it's tough. They didn't do a ton of red zone work. There's
Reggie Gilliam got a lot of run almost as a tight end.
Reggie got some as a tight end. So interesting room, but I didn't see enough from Howard. I think that's a guy that I'm definitely going to be monitoring here throughout camp, though, because the physical look, at least, of him definitely stood out amongst the other guys. And that I think that's what it's easy to see why scouts, coaches have fallen in love with this guy year over year. And really, this is going to be on the Bills to unlock. It is that physical look and ability. Can we translate that into being a productive, consistent tight end in the NFL? That's the task for Boris this year, is to make that happen.
So, ultimately, it was a good camp because we didn't see anybody get injured today. That was a good step in the right direction. So, it certainly was positive that way. Everybody was having a good time. The crowd was fantastic. Everybody reacted to everything and doing really well that way. All the players really interacted with everybody, signing a ton of autographs, really fun for the kids and everything like that. If anybody didn't see the video, Von Miller takes gloves off and gives it to a little boy, and you see like his face
just light up.
Really
that's what it's all about.
And we saw one person in the crowd that was interested.
Yeah, Drew Rosenhaus was hanging out in the VIP section, which I think everybody's now seeing on Facebook and Twitter, the pictures of him around. And I think an interesting note in that we know Jordan Poyer is obviously looking for that extension, and he's one of the most powerful agents in the business. And for him to be here on the first day, I think says something. Look, they between Poyer and his agent and the Bills, they've at least got to understand where Poyer showed up. He's ready to practice. He's not going to participate in anything else.
Full participant. He did not sit out anything.
And to me, that messaging was like, hey, the agent's here. We're serious about this. He wants to be here. We want him to be here. We want to get a deal done. And so I don't know. I think he'll probably leave tonight. I don't know if a deal gets done by his visiting, but I think that it was a good faith effort by both sides to say, hey, let's start working on this and get something done as quick as possible, because this is where everybody wants to be.
Yeah, that was my exact phrasing when we were in the crowd, is that the only reason that Drew Rosenhaus is here is to negotiate a contract. However, that doesn't mean a contract's going
Gets
to be
done today.
Like, it's a good thing. It's a positive thing.
Although,
Post
garbage
dress.
plates, they might sit down over some garbage
Never
plates and
know.
nobody knows what's going to happen when you start eating garbage plates.
You might want to go see the lake. You never know. It's a
right.
beautiful area to come see. One, some Pittsburgh dairy ice cream is understandable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason Drew Rosenhaus is here, is to talk to Brandon Beane. We saw Beane. We saw Rosenhaus. Poe was flying around like normal, coming out. He got a big pop from the crowd when he came running out. Yeah. But that's why he's here, and hopefully we hear that it's to get a deal done.
I can't wait. Yeah, I hope that's the news we get.
Any other thoughts before we close it out?
Yeah, I know somebody talked about Case Keenum not looking good. That is one thing I will say. A lot of the drills that we saw, so like you'll see the highlights of things and stuff like that. First section of play, there was probably like 5 interceptable balls that the defense just didn't break out. Like that, there's a lot of this that they're just working through things, installing things, trying new things out. So you're going to see plays that it's like, oh wow, this guy broke a big play, or that guy broke a big play, or this guy didn't play that well. This is practice, and unfortunately for these NFL players, it's also on public display for us to see every single problem. So I wouldn't worry about anybody making mistakes this early in camp. If any of those mistakes, again, just like the starting spots, if 2 to 3 weeks grow out and people are still doing the same stuff, type of stuff, then you start to worry about it. But I would not overreact to these first few days of camp. And then the other thing is, let's get pads on and see what happens. That's always my big thing. So don't rush to any judgments till we see these guys in pads, because it's a totally different level of football playing in shorts versus getting in pads. So I'm excited to get to that point. But fun day at camp. We thought it was going to be a super heat wave day or a ton of rain. We really didn't get either. Nice cloud cover, so a perfect day to be out starting camp for a 2022 Super Bowl run. It's for the first block of building towards Super Bowl.
It was a great day. We have one more analyst who had a comment they wanted to come in and make.
Buffalo Bills going undefeated, and we're going to the Super Bowl. Yep,
we will beat that bit into the ground. I don't even care. We'll just keep beating on that one, because this is the year to do it.
So for everybody else, make sure to come and check out Cover One Pass. It's our premium membership. You get all the new writing from our premium writers. All I did an entire Salary Cap 101 series. Eric did an awesome glossary series, and all
the guys,
the terms that you have there. A bunch of really good stuff that we're going to put together. So make sure the biggest way to come help, support us and show your support for Cover One, and to help us continue to provide everything that you guys have come to enjoy and come to depend on with our network, is from joining up as a premium member. Come in the Slack channel. It's the best place to be on game day. It's an awesome experience. Get the new Cover One shirt, the decal for your car, everything that's out there. Come and support us. It would mean a lot. Check it out in the description here. But on behalf of Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.